Hi, I'm Robert Schlide, Chief of Police for Shelby Township Police Department. Welcome to Straight Talk. Today we have a special show for you and a special guest. With me to my right is Chief Jim Swinkowski from the Shelby Township Fire Department. Hi, Jim.
How are you doing?
Good. Welcome on the show.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. We asked you to come on the show today so we can talk a little bit about our training program individually and then jointly. How important is your training department to your specific department and the training you guys do? It seems like every time I'm over filling up my truck with gas, you guys are doing some kind of training in the back. I see your guys working hard almost weekly. How important is it to you, and how much training you guys actually do?
Yeah, training for us is huge because we have so many different disciplines, and besides fire and rescue tactics, with all the different disciplines we have with, dive, car accidents, and all the different situations where you have to go in and rescue people, training is huge because we have to get, you want that basic muscle memory. So when you get on a scene and it's chaotic, you know what to do, and it's hours and hours of repetition. I mean, we can't train for every possible scenario of like a car accident and a car upside down, or if it's on a guardrail and things like that. But we train to become familiar with the equipment, familiar with each other, because that's huge, being able to count on your partner. And it's just, time and time again, because once we get there, that's not the time to try and figure out when to do something. We have to have all the basic skills, and it's changing so often that we're constantly training. Every day, basically, we're out there doing something.
One of the pillars that we put in place, pillars of excellence at our police department, is preparedness, and we push this through our actual training program. When I took over about 4.5 years ago, I made our training budget go through the roof. And the two ladies that worked for me, Patty and Marion, pulled me aside and they said, Chief, we really like you. We don't want you to get in trouble. But we've never seen spending like this before. And it was all on training. We start amping it up. And my theory is you pay now or you pay later. And that pay later would be through litigation or embarrassment to the police department. I know you probably have the very same mentality when it comes to that, making sure that your guys are up to speed on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, that's correct. In fact, when I took over with our overtime, because sometimes we have to send firefighters out and then our instructors sometimes have to come in on overtime, we actually have a separate category. I had, with the finance director, created a budget just for the training and the overtime to cover anything that we're doing training that's separate from our regular spending, so we can track that, because just like you, it's paramount. But I want to, show that this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it, and it's how important it is.
Yeah, if you're going to do things, you got to do it right.
Yep.
And our officers, your firemen, they're out there, they're representing Shelby Township, representing our community, and we have to make sure that they're up to speed, prepared, and you do that through training and preparation, there's no doubt. Now, recently, for the first time in a long time, our departments are doing stuff together, they're working together. Quote Stacy, the world has changed. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's you're absolutely correct, because I know your command officers and mine, about 3-4 years ago, we actually started talking about specifically active shooter situations and things like that. And over the evolution of the last 4 or 5 years, this year and also last summer, some of our top firefighters that are in with our rescue task force have been going up to Grayling with your officers, training to get that one-on-one training with the police officers, because we have to know, our training is different than yours, so, and our language on the scene is different than yours. We have to learn their movements, their verbal commands, so when we're in a situation like that with your officers, our firefighters know exactly what's going on and when it's going to happen.
When I was a young officer in Detroit, I had to go up on a ladder truck. There was a B&E of a business, and they thought it was a roof job. So they sent me up on the fire truck on the ladder. I climbed up, no problem, got up there, and it turned out it was not a good B&E, okay? So I had to come back down the ladder. I had no problem going up, but when it came time to going back down, I panicked, okay? I ended up making it down, but I'll never forget that, and I thought to myself, I didn't sign up to be a firefighter, okay? I'm not running into a burning building. I'm just not doing it. It's not in my nature. However, you guys are different. This is what you signed up for. This is your your specialty, okay? You will run into burning buildings. You do ladder work and everything. The reason I point this out, it's tragic what has happened, that now we need you, the firemen, to come with us in these situations that we signed up for. You know, I hear a man with a gun right now anywhere around here, I'm going to run out to my car and try to beat everybody there while everyone's running away from it. That's what police officers signed up for, okay? So we have two different skill sets, and then now the situation is, we need you, okay? When these people, we call them the active assailant. We don't like to use the word active shooter. Everybody uses active shooter, but we're kind of taught that a shooter could be somebody who's a guy, you know, doing clay shooting or something, right? Yeah. These guys are killers. You know, you call it active killer. And these situations we're seeing around the country, it's almost like on a weekly basis now. The police department, we can't do this alone. There's victims everywhere. We need the fire department with us. You guys have really stepped up, not only the Shelby Township Police Department, but the nationwide, the police departments around the country. Now, my question for you is, where is this push coming from? Was this from your major union group? I know locally here, Vicky Wolber from Macomb County had a big push in getting it going. Where specifically did this come from?
Well, as far as our department is concerned, it came from the lessons learned from, you know, going back to 1999 in Columbine and all the shootings that have happened. The biggest issue is the victims inside, you know, they were shot, but they weren't mortally wounded, but they were bleeding to death because it took, you know, so many hours to secure the scene, but by then they were bleeding out. And over the years, especially probably since the last 6-7 years, there's been a big push of getting us to the victims so we can stop the bleeding and get them out as quickly as we can. And so that you know, that's been a nationwide push. And once our two departments started talking about it, it got, you know, that same type of training and stuff got to the Macomb County's emergency management, and that's when they started approaching both the Fire Chiefs Association and the Police Chiefs Association here in Macomb County about it. And you know, that, you know, the last 2 years has been a big initiative on that. You know, of course we started before then of trying to get our training and get everything in line, because it takes time. But the whole idea is to get us to the victims as quickly as possible to stop the bleeding.
I want to give Mark Coyle a big shout out. Mark kind of took the lead at our department, working with you guys almost like on a daily, weekly basis to get the plan up and running. And one of our other pillars of excellence is pride. When I see our two departments working together, I glow with pride, because I know this is what our community wants. They want to see us working together. They want to see us professionally involved with each other and supporting each other in any way possible. And when I look at our rescue task force, I glow with pride, and I see that. I see our guys working together like they're almost like a cohesive unit, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? So yeah. I want to give hats off to your staff, you and your staff, for getting everybody working together.
Yeah, no, that, and like I said, it's been a big push, and I think our firefighters that have been up there, we've had 6 now that have gone through the tactical training with your officers up there, and that's a very unique situation, but also brings to light that we're there for the officer safety as well. That, you know, we have these 6 members that are getting more involved with that, with your tactical team outside of the rescue task force, and we're there for, you know, if they get injured, we're right there to help them and not have to wait. And that's and that's the biggest goal, is there, you know, we're there for your safety and the safety of the innocent bystanders.
Recently, our two departments went up to Grayling, Michigan for some special training. Let's take a look and see what Stacy has for us.
Search warrant, police department!
Shelby Township Police Department started a tactical response unit a few years ago. Being here in Grayling is a part of that train-up and continuous training that keeps us good at our job.
Bang out! Bang out!
It has unique training environments here in Grayling. The training environments are something that we can't find locally, but we are able to find in state. The tactical training available here, its unique properties allow us to do our jobs and practice at a higher intensity and a higher rate than normally we would practice while we're training in Shelby Township or the area of Shelby Township.
All right, guy went through the store, he took some shots, shot at us. We're gonna open the store and see what we got, right? Okay.
It has a large facility with many buildings that we can train into, and it has a large live fire shoot house so we can take some of that training that we do in practice and apply it. This is going to be an emergency call out. You've got the team that you have plus a couple medics with you. They've been looking for a couple bank robbers for a few hours now. You guys have already been driving around. You've already been checking some areas. And now you had pulled up and you have a perimeter set by 4 or 5 different patrolmen. A good ID of at least one of the guys we're looking for. We're looking for 2 white males dressed in black. The 2 guys that robbed the bank are armed with pistols and 1 rifle. They last seen blocks from here, and then we got a call from a neighbor who said that she recognized at least one of the guys walking down the neighborhood, and she last saw him going in one of those doors. She doesn't know which one he went into. So patrol used that information to lock down that building. That building is not occupied as far as we know, but she says that there are some old people that live in the 2nd story. Officers are trained from the academy to deal with things either alone as a part of a 1 or 2 man team. They operate independently. They make decisions independently on the things that they observe, and those observations and their experience has output, and they act in the way they see fit. When officers work together in a 2 man team, they start to work as a team because they realize what that person is seeing might be a little different, and I can cue off his states. That is the way officers are trained. To do tactics means that you have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 police officers all acting in unison. We're not acting alone at the same time like officers who are not trained that way. They're acting alone. There's other officers there, but they're acting on their instincts. These guys all have to operate together off of 1 instinct for 1 goal. And professionalization of those services was what the Tactical Response Unit was designed to do. Whether it was serving common warrants and search warrants, arrest warrants, dealing with emotionally disturbed people, those are operations that we wanted to make sure we had the very best team of people and training to address these problems.
Police Department, search warrant!
The Shelby Township Police Department understands that we're not big enough and we don't have enough people to have a full SWAT team. That's not what this is. This is everything up to and not including hostage rescues and large-scale criminal events. We are here for the people. We are cops on the beat that just have this extra job. There's a fear of militarization of police and how that affects day-to-day people. And whenever you say tactics or team, what you kind of get is this little bit of a militarization feel of it and a little less of the officer on the beat. And I think if there was anything that I wanted to do is I wanted to share that in Macomb County specifically, but in southeastern Michigan in general, most all of these officers that are involved in tactical teams are all officers on the beat. These are not trained guys that only do this full time, dealing with the worst of the worst in these tactical areas. These are guys who have regular jobs and regular homes and regular things, and they get brought together and specially trained so that we can save lives.
First floor, 12 side.
That's the room, that's where you're in.
Okay.
Trends for the last 20 years have changed, and the active killers have they've modernized their own tactics and techniques, and we have found that we have to do the same to keep up with how things are changing. In the widest scope, we learned in Columbine that we can't wait for a tactical team to address the situation because it could take 45 minutes to an hour to get enough people there to handle it. We realized that we need people who show up, officers, trained enough in these tactics to be able to address the situation directly. Those officers started in small teams, and they had to wait a few minutes and up to an hour to get small teams together to adapt it. But now these people who want to kill many people who are innocent, children and citizens, they have now known that to be the case, and they're killing at a faster rate as time goes on. This faster rate meant that we're going to need to lower the number of officers that respond to these situations and get the very first officer we can to change the mind of that offender. Now it's all the way down to the first officer. Our officers on the Shelby Township Police Department were not only trained in active shooter response, small team response, but we were also trained in lone officer response to an active killer. That lone officer response means that he goes to the key point at the key time as quickly as he can to stop that person from thinking about killing, to thinking about dealing with that officer, or thinking about leaving the scene.
Police officers are here to protect lives first. And that life the life you save may be somebody else's, and we're there to do that. And all our officers are trained that way to operate by themselves, to go inside and to hunt down the killer that's killing innocent people.
Oh, the fright will come later. The job comes first. Absolutely, 100% of these officers, once they get that call, they're absolutely going to that scene. There's no doubt about it. They've been trained. We put them in the very most realistic scenarios that we can, to include loud gunfire, people screaming and yelling, all of the things we could do to inoculate their observations and their ability to respond, inoculate that fear, put it off to the side, go directly to what needs to be done, which is getting to the point of crisis and then dealing with that point of crisis. The sooner you can get there, the less people that are going to get killed, and the smaller area that has to be dealt with when other officers come to respond. If I can get somebody close and they can give me real-time information, that person now has been bottlenecked, and he's also not killing because we have somebody there that can guide in a response that is very specific and a very narrow area, and that allows our response to be much quicker and much more effective.
Well, we got a gun on the floor right here too.
Okay.
All right, bang.
Generally speaking, if there's a crime of violence or a ongoing active killing scenario, where it's happening is the hot zone, the actual physical location that it's happening. Everything that's happening there are where we're sending these officers inside and to penetrate that to stop it. While that's happening, there's a warm zone just outside of that target area where that person inside, whether it's a firearm or an explosive or some other means, can affect that, and it's still dangerous. It's not as dangerous as where it's happening, but it's dangerous to those people who are in that. That's the warm zone. The cold zone is behind cover, farther away, where nothing that happens at that scene can affect the safety and security of those people in that cold zone. So in that cold zone, that's where the medics and the rescue guys staged, waiting for people to get brought from the hot zone. Injured people, injured suspects, injured officers had to leave that scene, go through, and sometimes travel a great distance to get to medical treatment.
Medics coming. Back up.
The problem is, we know now, through time and training and the experience of casualty care in the war on terror, that every minute that person's bleeding lowers their chance of survival. So in that golden minute, in that golden hour, we need to bring those people to medical care as quickly as possible. Now we know that there's no magic way to convey these people or another way that we can get more officers inside to just carry them away. That's just not a reasonable response. The reasonable response was try to make it as safe as possible, especially train these fire department personnel and emergency services personnel to come closer to where that happens and get up to where the target area is, not at the target area. They're not trying to solve the problem. We're trying to get them to the patients. So it's a compromise. We can bring the patients out, lower that time of exposure, and bring the medical situation closer so they can get care on the ground and stabilization, hopefully, until they get moved back so that they can go through a proper triage and then continue on their way through medical treatment. But really, we're talking about that crisis situation and getting people care as quickly as possible. The fire department and EMS services are all in.
We don't have to wait for them to come. They're going to be there with us, or at least be close by if we need something. Even if one of our officers or one of our team members go down, we have a medic with us, and we can provide cover while they're working on one of our guys if need be. But again, primary responsibility is for active shooter situation. If we have victims, they can work on them quick.
Coming out! We need a medic!
Coming in.
There's a big change coming industry-wide with this kind of stuff, and we realize, there's a lot of data that comes from war, and tourniquets save lives, and point of injury care saves lives, and that's what we're trying to provide.
Yeah, it's a big shift, but I think the majority of people on our department were interested in doing it. There's only been a few people that were a little leery, but they're getting to see all the news media out there showing all the need for us to get in there as quickly as possible to save lives, because that's what we signed up for, is to save lives. So we may be in a dangerous situation and we're still going to have to take care of it. We go into burning buildings to take care of people. That's our job. So it's just shifted into now bullets instead of fire.
But after the Columbine incident, one of the mothers came up to the police or the director, whoever it was, and said, "You guys made a bargain with me. Every time you put on a uniform, that you are going to risk your life to save mine or my child." And so fire is dangerous, the water rescue we do is dangerous, the hazmat stuff we do is dangerous, even the medical calls we go on can be dangerous. So yes, it's dangerous, but it's just kind of an accepted form of danger. And watching these guys work, I mean, it gives us a lot of confidence. They're on their game, so it helps take an element of that away.
Sure, right now.
So, the finger rake, right? Find holes. Go ahead and pull out a little bit next corner.
This has to happen. This shift has to happen with the rescue task force, and then this is just kind of a natural addition to that, if you will.
They can bleed out within less than a minute. So the closer we are, the better it is for that person.
Our main focus and our main priority has always been saving lives. So regardless of how we do it, if it's on a fire, if it's on an ambulance, if it's on a river, or if it's in an active shooting, then it's our job to save lives,
It's very dangerous, and they don't carry weapons, and those are some of the bravest personnel that I know that are willing to do that, because they're willing to risk their life without any ability to really respond or defend for the possibility of saving other people's lives.
There's still a lot to do, There's still a lot to do. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be passed on. There's a lot of stuff that we don't even know yet.
Our fire guys are really receptive to training, and it's gone very smoothly so far, and they enjoy it, and they want to be here. They want to help us out, we want to help them out, and we're all working towards the same goal.
We are here to save lives. That helps me do my job. The sooner I can get them taken care of, the better I can do my job, and the bolder I can be when I know I've got that level of care behind me, so I can do my job and solve problems where problems are. If I can look at somebody in the face and say, I can get you help right now, and mean it, even though there's chaos going all around me, they can feel that. One life, just one, will feel better.
Well, that's some great footage. You see our departments training together up in Grayling. 3 or 4 years ago, we had the vision to install a tactical response unit. Now, this is not a SWAT team at all, okay? We don't handle something a real SWAT team would handle, but we handle high-risk warrants, we handle warrant pickup, and a lot of low-level stuff that we want a little bit better than the services our regular patrol officers would handle. These guys are a little bit better trained. And once we got the unit up and running, I wanted to send them up to Grayling to get specialized training and for bonding. So they go up there every year for 1 week. This was the second year in a row, but they're bringing our fire guys with us from the rescue task force. And when I saw the video at the Shelby Township stated address and watched the guys working together, now I didn't go up there myself. Mark Coyle went up there and kind of like coordinated everything like that and oversaw everything. So I didn't actually know what was going on other than the guys were working together. But you could look at the actual video and you could see these guys are really into what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And our guys have bought into it 110%. And going up there, instead of just tabletopping, they have the time to sit there and, if an officer gets shot, this is how long it's going to take us to put a tourniquet on and get him ready to get out safely with escort. And going up to Grayling gives them that situation in the real world environment with real time.
Yeah, Jim, in almost anything you do though, the bonding is important, okay? When your guys work with our guys and they work with them and they spend a week together, those guys know each other. They know they can trust each other. They know what each other's skill set is, whatever. To me, that's worth all the training in the world, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? When they have a face with the name, they know that I trust that guy. I train with him. Do you agree with that?
Oh, that was paramount, because the camaraderie, all the camaraderie that goes on after they're done training for the day, while they're there in the evening and overnight, You can't duplicate that, because once you bond with some people like that and you have that trust, then they can do their job so much better, because they're not worried about if this person knows what they're doing. They know each other's movements, they know their body language. Once they start being able to read the body language, that's when real teamwork comes into play, and and that's the way it's been the last couple of years working with your officers. Your staff, Mark, and everyone has done just a phenomenal job working with our staff and our firefighters, getting everything to merge as well as it has.
So as far as the community goes, our community, when I look at it, I have to be honest with you, I think that they couldn't be happier when they see the services offered by your department, by my department, and the board of trustees and Rick, they do a great job with keeping the taxes low and affordable. And this community is incredible. And I think one of the reasons the community is so incredible is because of our fire and our police departments and the professionalism that both staffs provide on a daily basis. Do you agree? With
that's
that?
yeah. Without saying, the last since you've been here the last 4 years, there's been such a big change. And like you said, I think what I see from both departments, I don't think you're going to match that type of service, teamwork, and cooperation for the citizens anywhere. The way that both departments work to serve the community.
Yeah, and the citizens let us know too. I mean, I get contacted all the time and thanked by the citizens, the residents, the business owners. We appreciate what you're doing on a daily basis. It seems in the war against cops that's been going on the last 5 to 6 years, every time it heats up, our residents respond by giving us that much more love and support. It's crazy. Like they'll start bashing, police on the media, and they'll start going day after day. And then, we can't come in without having pizzas there, cupcakes, people coming in to visit us. So the people, they're not believing this nonsense that's being sold, mainstream, if that makes any sense. And I know you guys have never had a problem with your image for the most part, correct?
It all depends, but there's ups and downs with everything. But yeah, the last several years, in fact, since I've been chief, and I can't remember any bad issues that have happened with our departments. And of course, we get people that complain that not always happy with everything. We have to explain it to them. We do the best we can, and that's what we try to do.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Jim, listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show today and talking about our rescue task force. You've been watching Straight Talk. Thank you. We'll see you next month.